Okay, good to go. Sam, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at the inauguration of the School of Law at Dayananda Sagar University. A special thank you to our guests who have joined us today. It is actually we're very excited here at DSU to be launching the School of Law for a number of reasons. But the foremost of those reasons is that our founder, the late Sri Dayananda Sagar, was himself a British trained barrister. And so we are extremely delighted to be able to launch this law school during the centenary year of his birth anniversary. So a very, very warm welcome to all of you. And thank you once again for joining us today. We'd like to begin by inviting our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Dr. K.N.B. Murthy, who is the dynamic academic leader here at DSU, and he would formally welcome all of you today.
Thank you. Good evening. Warm greetings, honorable guests, invitees, and friends. A warm welcome to the virtual launch of DSU School of Law. Dayananda Sagar University, in short DSU, is a state private university established under Karnataka Act 20 of 2013, and it started its academic programs from the academic year 2015-16. DSU has 6 schools of study in basic and applied science, arts and humanities, commerce and management, allied health sciences, medicine, and engineering. At present, about 8,000 students are pursuing their higher studies in 36 different programs of study in the university. DSU is proposing to start the School of Law from the academic year 22-23, and it has filed its application with the Bar Council for its approval. This school is to commemorate the birth centenary year of our founder, late Sri Dayananda Sagar. DSU is fully aware that the School of Law has to be positioned differently to meet the challenges of the 21st century law education, which will be witnessing changes on account of tools and technology evolutions. DSU intends to adopt capability academic model of harnessing proven and engaging techniques to learn, grow, and reinvent through practice of skills, attitudes, and behaviors. Before DSU starts its info sessions, to create awareness through a series of webinars, seminars, as well as panel discussions about components of new age legal education and DSU offerings. We have requested Honorable Justice Dr. Venkatachaliah to virtually inaugurate the DSU School of Law in the august presence of Dr. Sudhir Krishnaswamy, the Vice-Chancellor of NLSIU, Mrs. Neetu, Dhadwal, the Director of Business Operations, LSAC Global, and Dr. D. Premachandra Sagar, Pro-Chancellor of DSU, as well as the best wishes and endorsement from our beloved Chancellor, Dr. D. Hemachandra Sagar. Now I will do the job of extending the welcome to each of the guests. I extend a worshipful welcome to our chief guest of today's event, Justice Dr. Eminent Venkatachaliah, the former Justice of India and a legendary figure as well as moving encyclopedia in legal matters, who has kindly consented to inaugurate and deliver the inaugural address. A warm welcome to you, sir. I extend a warm welcome to our guest of honor, Dr. Sudhir Krishnaswamy, Vice-Chancellor of NLSIU, Bengaluru, who has agreed to talk about the new age legal education. A warm welcome to you, sir. I extend a cordial welcome to our special invitee, Mrs. Neetu, Dhadwal, the Director of Business Operations, LSAC, who has kindly consented to talk about Law School Admission Council. A warm welcome to you, madam. I extend an affectionate welcome to our ever-energetic Pro-Chancellor, Dr. D. Premachandra Sagar, who has agreed to share DSU story and DSI legacy. Sir, warm welcome to you. I extend a warm welcome to each one of the following personalities who have joined virtually this event. Shri Gadiswamy, the Secretary of NGUP Trust, Madam Tintish Sagar, Mr. Rohan Sagar, HP Kincha, Shri Jairaj, Shri Prasanna, Mr. Janardhan, Dr. Puttumadappa, Dr. Anita Ramalingam, the heads of various the Dayananda Sagar Group of Institutions, deans of the Dayananda Sagar Group of Institutions and Dayananda Sagar University, the chairpersons of Dayananda Sagar Institutions and Dayananda Sagar University, faculty and staff of Dayananda Sagar Institutions and Dayananda Sagar University, invitees, parents, and law education aspirants. Finally, I extend a warm welcome to all the people who have joined this virtual event. A warm welcome to you to this function. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Murthy. Dayananda Sagar University actually comes from a long legacy that is part of the larger Dayananda Sagar institution family. To speak about that legacy, I'd like to invite our Pro-Chancellor, Dr. Premachandra Sagar. Dr. Sagar is the driving force behind the entire university, and it is his vision that has birthed the School of Law today. So over to you, Dr. Sagar.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Good evening. Every once in a while, I wake up in the morning to the cheerful sound of birds, the brilliant weather that surrounds us, and everything about the world seems just right. Today is one such day. It gives me immense joy to welcome our distinguished chief guest, an eminent jurist, Padma Vibhushan awardee, the former Chief Justice of India, Justice Venkatachaliah ji, to the inaugural function of Dayananda Sagar University's proposed School of Law. I would also wish to once again welcome our guest of honor, Dr. Sudhir Krishnaswamy, the Vice-Chancellor of the prestigious National Law School of India. I wish to recognize the presence of the special invitee, Ms. Neetu Dhadwal, the Director of LSAC. I also wish to acknowledge the presence of our advisors, the former Vice-Chancellor of VTU, Dr. Kincha, the former Additional Chief Secretary of the Government of Karnataka, Shri K. Jairaj, our Vice-Chancellor of Dayananda Sagar University, Dr. K. Balasubramanya Murthy, the Registrar of the University, Dr. Puttumadappa, to this wonderful event. I must also recognize the faculty from the School of Law and other schools of the university present here. And most importantly, all the invitees, guests on this august occasion. Joy transcends happiness, as happiness can sometimes be a fleeting emotion. A year ago, we inaugurated our medical school, CD Saimer, which was not only a momentous occasion for Dayananda Sagar institutions, but probably the entire state of Karnataka, as the associated hospital caters to the medical needs of the poorest of the poor. The medical school, named after my illustrious Dr. Mother, a brilliant surgeon, a triple of RCS in her own right, is doing well. And I'm sure that in the years to come will stand out as a beacon of excellence in how a modern medical school should function. I have today the same unbounded joy as we launch our law school. The founder of our group and my father, Barrister Dayananda Sagar, was, as you all know, a man who worked tirelessly on a vision to serve people in making a better life for themselves. My father worked hard and tirelessly. He received his Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Commerce degrees from the Maharaja's College of Mysore and was a student of the Bengaluru Law College, where he read law as a calling. He then traveled to England in the year 1955 for higher studies in law. He was called to the English bar and became a barrister. As a student of economics, he was elected to the fellowship of the Royal Economic Society of England. He was engaged in legal activities and practice for some years and returned to India in the year 1960. If we all look around us, some of the greatest nation builders across the world in general, and India in particular, have been legal luminaries and have done outstanding work in the social and political sphere. I believe that my father, as a politician and statesman, achieved his political moorings from his education in law, and he, like me, would have been extremely proud to see the establishment of a world-class law school. The list of lawyers turned politicians is a long one, and the branches of government and its agencies are well stocked with lawyers. I stress the word world-class. As we establish new schools, I'm very clear on two counts. One, all new streams of education that we establish will be state-of-the-art. And two, our existing schools will need to break from the past and travel on the road to excellence. All goals going forward will be stretch goals. The people of this great city and country need great places of learning. Dayananda Sagar Institutions is going to work in that direction tirelessly. The legal environs is in a remarkable state of flux. In less than 2 decades, the way in which lawyers work will change radically. Entirely new ways of delivering legal services will emerge. New provider will be firmly established in the market, and the working of our courts will be transformed. Unless we adopt, many traditional legal businesses will fail. On the other hand, a whole set of opportunities will present themselves to entrepreneurial, creative young lawyers. I believe there are 5 main drivers of this change: more for less challenge, liberalization, technology, in particular information technology, shifting demography, and increasing globalization. Dayananda Sagar University, we would like to establish a new age law school. Legal education needs a radical change. To do this, we must rethink the standard law school model. A series of required classes, some of which have little connection to the work most students will do as lawyers. There is a need for scalable, affordable experiences that connect students to firms and the practice of law. Similar maybe to medical school residency programs. It is worth discussing the merits of a law degree program that entirely replaces the 3rd year of coursework with a medical style, residency style program in which students would rotate through several practice areas. I would also like to see the law school collaborate extensively with our other schools in management, engineering, journalism, and medicine. Our students must learn a broad range of skills. Dayananda Sagar University is probably one of the very few private universities in this country that has many things going for it. A great legacy of over 6 decades in higher education, an array of programs, a vast pool of human resources, a brilliant of a kind residential campus, a resource-friendly university, leadership that is driven and has a clear vision. We need to be innovative in shaping our pedagogy and curriculum. Revolutionizing legal education need not be confined to a single class or select students. I have carefully studied the startup legal garage at the University of California, the Hastings College of the Law closely. This is one program re-energizing legal education, immersing more students in real-world experiences, capitalizing on the best that traditional law school pedagogy has to offer, and remaining cost-effective for law school budgets. The Startup Legal Garage is structured uniquely. Professors guide students by teaching soft skills and doctrinal program classes. They set up fieldwork projects by matching students and early stage tech startups with partners at top law schools. The practicing attorney supervises student work on basic legal needs such as employee contracts, privacy policies, and entity formation. And the student is placed at the center of real world law practice. Summer internships have always provided real world law practice experience, of course, but they are based on the notion that everything can be learned on the job. The startup legal garage model marries the best of what law schools can offer with the best of what summer apprenticeship can offer. Our law school needs to work with the private sector to give students a better chance at promising legal careers. The school needs to offer the legal practicum course that places students in the legal departments of local corporations and even government agencies. This in-house experience is combined with a seminar focusing on legal matters they are likely to face as corporate counsels. The school can create corporate lab programs, coupling a classroom component with a competition in which students engage in a series of corporate legal challenges based on real-world scenarios. Changing the face of law school doesn't have to mean cutting back on education. It might be the very move that will propel our law school to be a torch bearer and a beacon for other schools to emulate. I have large dreams for the law school. I would like to make our founder, my father, very proud of what we have set out to do here. I'm determined to experiment, bring in outstanding professors, both scholarly and practice, to give our students experience learning
after say 6:30
path that is sustainable and meaningful.
or you come kindly give me a tinkle.
Students need to stand out with the best that a law school can deliver in terms of understanding of the law, practicing it ethically, and standing up for the right causes. I say this very carefully, fully cognizant of the fact that in Bangalore, we have the top-ranked law school of this country in the National Law School. While we look up to them for guidance, we will reach out to the best law schools across the world in deriving best practices. As technology advances, the need for legal laws and regulation to keep people safe will also continue to grow. New technological discoveries happen very quickly, sometimes outpacing the timeline it takes to create proper regulatory standards. The demand for lawyers in this field is high as this timeline and process evolve. I would like our law school to be a leader in the area where technology, healthcare, and law come together. AI is becoming more common as companies automate and streamline their processes. Lawyers need to understand the nuances of artificial intelligence and how there may be potential biases embedded in their underlying structure. In our great city, Bengaluru, we have the perfect melting pot of new age technologies, big data, information technology, healthcare, and fintech, all rubbing shoulders with each other. And it is only natural that they will need sound legal assistance. Dayananda Sagar Law School will need to be at the forefront of this initiative, and the opportunities are great. As the legal industry continues to evolve and change, lawyers need to stay updated with new emerging areas of law, keeping up the latest trends in the legal industry may seem daunting for lawyers at times. However, innovation never happens in a vacuum. Lawyers need to understand the basics and foundations of how social, political, technological, and environmental factors can affect the law. By also keeping up with changing regulations, our students can adapt to any situation, and this will require them to be grown as thinkers and self-learners. The pillars on which we will build a great law school will include, but not be limited to, outstanding faculty, both scholars and practice, a curriculum through locally sensitive bill will be driven by international law and will include a broad range of diverse courses. Pedagogy that is truly international and meaningful, which includes a great deal of practice. A campus, an ecosystem that gives a student the best possible student experience. Lastly, we will be ruthlessly self-critical and introspective on how well we are doing concerning our competition. We will monitor our rankings carefully and ensure that we are recognized as one of the best law schools this country has and one of the better universities that are in the making. In concluding, let me quote the former American President Theodore Roosevelt. I quote him, "Nothing in the world is worth having or worth doing unless it means effort, pain, difficulty." I have never in my life envied a human being who led an easy life. I have envied a great many people who led difficult lives and led them well, unquote. Our dreams here at Dayananda Sagar University are not going to be easy. But let me assure you that one day when we stop and look back, we will look back in wonder and enjoy at what we have achieved together. I profusely thank the dignitaries and the guests who have patiently listened to me. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sagar, for that inspiring address that both reminded us where we came from and showed us where we're headed. I would now like to invite all our guests and audience members to raise the curtain on this inauguration.
शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
It's actually very difficult for me to offer a brief introduction to a person as accomplished and renowned as our chief guest today. The Honorable Justice M.N. Venkatachaliah, I'm sure, needs no introduction. He was the 25th Chief Justice of India and has been the chair of numerous national level commissions, including the National Human Rights Commission and a commission that reviewed the working of the Indian Constitution. Justice M.N. Venkatachaliah was also awarded the Padma Vibhushan in 2004 and is just a giant of the legal field. It's an absolute honor for us to have you with us today, sir. So I would now like to invite you to please give the inaugural address.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Premachandra Sagar, Sri Jairaj, Professor Balasubramanya Murthy, Professor Sudhir Krishnaswamy, Mas Neetu Dhadwal, Professor Puttamadappa, my respectful and affectionate greetings to all of you. The House of Sagars has a blessed inheritance for its enormous contribution to education, healthcare, and other fields of human excellence. Particularly, it has the blessings of a great doctor, Dr. Chandrama Sagar, who was a legend in her own lifetime. Sri Dayananda Sagar himself was a barrister. Great pleasure in now declaring the Dayananda Sagar University School of Law open. I wish to share on this occasion with you some thoughts on the impact of economics and technological explosion on legal curriculum. Once it was declared that a lawyer who has not studied economics and sociology is very apt to become a public enemy. It was also said that a lawyer's knowledge should be as deep as the ocean and as vast as the sky. But Norm Sherman cautioned, good law schools teach you to think like lawyers. But the top law schools teach young people to think, just to think. And that makes a potentially great lawyer. Accepting and taking responsibility for representing another human being to protect his interests and liberties is a serious commitment and shall always be treated as such. It is important to note the state of legal education in India since independence. Around 1950s, while in the West, the students were required to complete a 12-year school education and then a 4-year undergraduate degree before entering in the law school. In India, the students started their legal studies immediately after completing their primary and secondary education. Since the law profession needed reforms, in 1948, a commission was appointed, which was headed by Professor Radhakrishnan. The commission introduced a prerequisite for students interested in legal studies. It is now compulsory for students to complete a graduate degree course of 3 years before applying for a 2-year LLB course. In the early 60s, the framework of legal education was still unsatisfactory. What would explain this is that the social economic changes influenced the legal thinking, and it was important to adapt with the then prevailing social economic scenario for effective functioning of the legal system. If we talk about teachers, then the heavy workload and inadequate libraries made it very difficult to achieve the tradition. Indian legal education system needed drastic improvements. For that, the students were prepared inadequately, and the majority of subjects like taxation law, administrative law, government regulation of business were not even included in the curriculum. Professor Upendra Bakshi, then a law professor at Delhi University, was of the view that legal curriculum should reflect social realities and problems. As he noted, the traditional conceptualization of law in the common law system is largely in terms of judicial process. Such conceptualization leads, though not necessarily, to isolation of legal process from social processes and purposes. We have no problem over a technocratic legal education, as in advanced countries have. Rather, we have an insufficient technocratic legal education. So if a sound technocratic legal education is socially relevant, let us first seek to provide it. In 1986, moving forward with that thought of Professor Bakshi, Professor Madhav Menon, with an idea that the legal profession should be treated equally as engineering and medical, introduced a 5-year law degree with rigorous clinical program, case method study, group discussions as new modes of imparting legal education with the National Law School of India in Bengaluru. In England, as Frederick Pollock recalls, legal education was afforded no but serious treatment from the beginning of the 18th to the 19th century. It is only in the last quarter of the 19th century that legal education and teaching received serious treatment by British academicians and teachers. Frederick Pollock highlighted how critical and impulsive apprenticeship was in British model of legal education in those days. However, in the USA, the situation was somewhat different, and legal education was taken more seriously, and legal curriculum invited much attention. Justice Robert Jackson of Supreme Court of the United States once said, if the weakness of the apprenticeship system was to produce advocates without scholarship, the weakness of the law school system in turn was to turn out scholars with no skill at advocacy. It will be interesting to note that when a 4-year law curriculum was proposed to be introduced in American universities, a few academics, surprisingly, did not favor this introduction. Said proposal, a 4-year curriculum, included new subjects in those days, such as trade regulations, labor law, administrative law, and comparative law. The new proposed curriculum also included subjects which form part of social sciences, such as sociology, psychology, economics. For instance, Professor Philip Masham argued that inclusion of such social sciences in legal curriculum would unreasonably increase the cost of teaching social sciences, and that such study of social sciences was not necessary in the law schools. Today, there is no law school of reputation in the world and eminence in the world which does not have inclusion of social sciences in its curriculum. Social sciences have integrated with the conventional legal subject, and various conventional subjects have been amalgamated with various other subjects like economics, politics, science, sociology. For instance, law and economic inequality at the University of California, law and economics and organization, behavior law and economics, behavior law and economics offered at the Yale University, law and economics of discrimination offered at Berkeley, law and economics of corporate control offered at Oxford Law School, law and business along with law and government offered at Harvard Law School are very significant pointers. The most drastic and fundamental change in legal curriculum has been moved by the pressing needs of scientific advancements and technological innovations which have touched all aspects of human life. One of the most pressing needs of our times is how the legal system addresses the need to govern and regulate international commerce. India's merchandise import in April-December 2021 was $443.71 billion US. India's merchandise export in December 2021 was $37.29 billion US, the highest ever monthly achievement, which shows an increase of 37% over the 27.22 billion in December 2020. And India's merchandise export in April-December 2021 was $299.74 billion. The globalized world has ever increasing demands for cross-border exchange of goods. technology, services, and capital, it brings about a drastic change in the conventional forms of transactions. So far as law governing international commerce is concerned, the students of present generation will have far more opportunities to work towards international commerce and trade than it has ever happened before. It is reasonable to believe that the next few decades will see a drastic integration of Indian economy with the world economy. Even though courses on international trade are taught in many universities, various aspects of international trade, including the law governing contracts and commercial law practices of the jurisdictions which have cross-border transactions, are taking place. This will gain for law practitioners a new dimension. The most drastic and fundamental change in the legal curriculum has been moved by the pressing needs of scientific advancements and technological innovations which have touched all aspects of human life, including communications, essential services, expanding to the extent of exploration of the universe, from cyber law, biotechnology law, internet privacy law, to outer space law. Technological advancements have shaken human life to its foundation. Universities like University of California, University of Edinburgh, George Washington, Yale, Oxford, Cambridge have introduced subjects like video game and social media law, digital technology, constitutional law, human-centric technology law, artificial intelligence law, entertainment law, law and virtual world, blockchain and cryptocurrencies, data protection law, etc. This kind of expansion is unprecedented, with an objective to change the teaching pattern and to provide lesser course to students for efficient understanding, along with some non-compulsory lectures to motivate the law students. The Keller Plan, also known as the personalized system of instruction, was introduced in the field of law. In 1989, the law of technology was introduced. At that time, the legal curriculum lacked the general law, which was required for the interpretation of special laws. Hence, there was a need to introduce the Keller Plan in the technology law course, which consisted of 15 modules for the computer-related topics, such as computer crime, electronic fund transfers, artificial intelligence, privacy and data protection, freedom of information, and other 5 modules dealing with various problems of biotechnology, including plant variety rights, artificial conception, scientific experiments which change the genetic structure and genetic engineering. The concept of block model of learning was introduced by the Victoria University, Melbourne, Australia in 2017, which builds a degree program of learning wherein a law degree can be completed in a span of the block, which is characterized as the units included in the undergraduate and postgraduate degrees. The design is to provide a three half-day teaching sessions per week, and the course runs to a total of 9 weeks. The objective of the model is to provide lesser course with efficient teaching rather than hours of sessions with bulk teaching. After this, the academics, learning designers, and librarians work together to build a master space for the youth. The students brainstorm their ideas and opinions on a block. The legal education, even though begins with the imparting of knowledge and information in law schools, however, the essence of legal knowledge has always been acquired by students during their interactions with real legal issues and disputes. One of the many ways in which students of law or legal practitioners acquire knowledge is during the course of preparation of a legal dispute, which includes their interaction with the clients. It puts a practitioner and a student in a situation in which the sheer needs of a particular case makes them understand law in its real dimensions and perspective. It is only to remind ourselves that legal curriculum must address the needs, economic and technological advancements in the society, which has had considerable impact on the dynamics of legal education in India, such as the methods of education, ways of research, and integration of the world legal culture. Ladies and gentlemen, the future of legal education is mind-boggling. It will be the integration of all fields of human knowledge, and it's going to be an exciting program for the next generation who pursue law as a professional course. We have Dr. Professor Krishnaswamy, who spearheads the new wave of legal education in one of the most beautiful universities they have built for advancement of legal knowledge. And hereafter, possibly the universities must act in cohort with scientists and sociologists, economists, to build a system of integrated understanding of human behavior in an ever-changing milieu of society. And the university, the new university, which has started with the great reputation of the Dayananda Sagar inheritance, and they must provide an online course on common man and the law series. In fact, in the early 50s, World Legal Philosophy series was started. I think the name was Berolsheimer and Bodenheimer, World Legal Philosophy series. Here, a common man and the law series, which will tell them many intricate areas of interrelationship between academic legal education and the problems of the common man. And some of the research publications, occasional publications, should address law and technology and various other aspects of which affect human life in an ever-changing context. These few thoughts, I again convey my very sincere and affectionate congratulations to the Sagar family for introducing a very relevant academic course, including them in their university. I wish the university and the college all the best in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you to the Honorable Justice M.N. Venkatachaliah for that very insightful address and for inaugurating our School of Law. I would now like to introduce our guest of honor before inviting him to please make his address. Our guest of honor today is Professor Dr. Sudhir Krishnaswamy, who is the Vice-Chancellor of NLSIU Bangalore. Dr. Krishnaswamy, like the Honorable Justice mentioned, is a renowned legal academic who's revolutionizing the current legal education landscape. A Rhodes Scholar and a graduate of the University. Krishnaswamy is also the co-founder of the Center for Law and Policy Research in Bangalore. He is also the only Indian to currently sit on a content oversight board for Facebook. And we're extremely delighted to have you here with us today. So thank you very much. I'd now like to invite you to.
Thank you, Professor Samudyuta.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for the invitation to be the guest of honor at the inauguration of the School of Law of the Dayananda Sagar University. It is especially an honor to be in the presence of Honorable Chief Justice M.N. Venkatachaliah, who spoke just before me at great length about the early founding of the National Law School and also a brief history of legal education. He did not mention that he was closely involved and personally involved in the birth of the National Law School and its early years. And so I thank him once again for the role that he played in those early years that shaped both the National Law School and legal education in India in that period. His presence here today at the founding of a new law school, the DSU School of Law, is auspicious and it augurs well for the future of this institution. So I'm honored to be here in his presence today, and I'm very glad that he spoke, and he spoke at length about the checkered history of legal education. It's not a linear history, it's a checkered history. I'm also had the opportunity to meet Pro-Chancellor Dr. Premachandra Sagar firsthand and see his passion and vision for this law school. He spoke earlier this evening, and it was very clear to anyone who heard his opening remarks that he has a deep vision for where this law school must be. It helps immensely that Dr. Dayananda Sagar's legacy as a barrister who was deeply embedded in the freedom movement, in India's freedom movement, and the early history of the state of Karnataka is the vision that lies behind this law school. Founding moments are critical, and founding histories have great path dependencies in the evolution of institutions. And Dr. Dayananda Sagar's presence, not only with his name lent to the university, but his presence as a lawyer committed to doing public work, is something that will hold the law school in great stead in the years to come. I'm going to speak briefly for the next 3 to 5 minutes on a history of legal education, but in a way that I think integrates some of the remarks that Dr. Premachandra Sagar made about medical education, as well as the remarks that Honorable Justice M.N. Venkatachaliah made. And I'm going to do this potted history with a focus on Karnataka, which gives us some perspective on the history of this law school. In the early 1950s and 60s, the post-independence period, Karnataka had 2 law faculties of some renown. In Dhadwal, there was the Karnataka University's Law College. In Mysore, there was Mysore University's Postgraduate Law Department that had carved out a reputation over the years as being centers for legal education excellence. There was also the University Law College, of course, which is among the early law schools, as well as several other private law colleges across Karnataka. But I think it is fair to say that by the mid-1980s, while Karnataka had some law schools of renown, it is not unfair to say that Karnataka was not the hub of legal education in India. That hub was elsewhere. We could have longer debates and arguments about what was the heart of Indian legal education, but it's fair to say that it wasn't Bangalore and it wasn't Karnataka. And then something happened in the late 1980s, aided immensely by individuals like Justice Venkatachaliah, which was the creation of the National Law School. The National Law School was meant to be many things, and that's been discussed earlier today, so I'm not going to add to that list. But one of its great impacts, which is poorly recognized and understood, is how it has transformed and relocated the hub of Indian legal education to Bangalore and to Karnataka. How has this occurred? This has occurred not just by allowing well-qualified graduates of law to go out into the profession in the city of Bangalore and elsewhere. It has happened by the education of master's students, the education of doctoral students, and the creation of a new cadre of law teachers who have gone off into various law schools across this city and across this state to recreate the place of legal education in Karnataka. Today, in 2022, we have 26 100,000 law students in the state of Karnataka alone. We have 106 law schools. And it's fair to say for aspiring young law students that they really treasure the opportunity to study in Bangalore and to be a part of what is a thriving legal education community in this city and in this state. So the creation today of a School of Law at the Dayananda Sagar University is an extension of this rise of Bangalore as the hub of legal education in India. And I'm very excited and very glad that the National Law School has delivered on its mandate, not just to create a top university and graduate law students, but to have this wider social impact in the region and in the state in which it is located. So I want to signal that as a happy moment for the National Law School, that our mandate is fulfilled by the creation of this new law school in Bangalore today. The second point that I want to make is to reflect on the challenges that the creation of a new law school poses, as well as the choices that all law schools, new and old, have to make on an ongoing basis. Professor Menon, as Justice Venkatachaliah rightly pointed out, was deeply concerned in 1988 with the apprenticeship model of legal education in India. Too often, law students spent their time in law chambers of counsel that they apprenticed with. They spent too little time in the classroom, either learning the law or learning the social sciences. An apprenticeship model of legal education had taken hold in India almost 100 years ago, and even into the 1980s, it still had a significant hold on legal education. Professor Menon was absolutely clear when he created the National Law School that India and Indian legal education needs to move away from an over-reliance on apprenticeship to a more significant reliance on classroom-based first principles learning through a pedagogy that used cases and materials but was Socratic and lively in nature. These were the founding motivations of the National Law School, and as history plays out, these founding motivations were successfully implemented in this university. Please remember that this transition is not uniquely Indian. Justice Venkatachaliah took us through British legal education history as well as American legal education history, and I'm going to focus on one moment that he spoke about, but I want to emphasize, which is the Langdellian Revolution in American legal education, which occurred at the Harvard Law School. And Christopher Langdell was most inspired, just like Dr. Premachandra Sagar mentioned earlier, by the medical school. He was convinced that legal education must, like medical education, adopt the case method and the clinical method. He was convinced that instead of relying on what was then called the Dwight lecture method, that legal education must insist on an active pedagogy using cases and materials, cases decided by courts and other primary legal materials, to build a very lively, engaged model of learning that resembled the medical school. The rest, as we say, is history. The case method in legal education first took hold in the Americas, then traveled well into Europe, and with the creation of the National Law School, traveled into India, and has been a remarkable success across Indian legal education. This tension, and I'll call it a tension because Dr. Sagar rightly pointed out that if we do a professional legal education that is only an education in the books, that did not have apprenticeship-based learning, experiential learning as a part of legal education, then we run the rather dramatic risk that we will produce very well-educated lawyers, but educated lawyers in the books of law who were not ready for that social engagement and practice of law in the law courts or in the law chambers. So this tension, developing the appropriate balance between a lively classroom and an apprenticeship-based model of education, is one that is one that all of us face currently, as someone who is responsible for developing developing these new initiatives and efforts at the National Law School in Bangalore. I face this tension of drawing the appropriate balance between these models. But as a new law school, the Dayananda Sagar University School of Law has a wonderful opportunity to redraw these lines in new ways. I am certain that the National Law School did several things well and right in the late 1980s, but there are many, many ways of drawing these lines and organizing these modes of legal education. Today, the School of Law, and we're all gathered here today to congratulate and wish the founders of this new School of Law all the best as they navigate these rather perennial questions in legal education in new and innovative ways. As a legal educator myself and a law teacher in the classroom, I wish you the very best and assure you that as the National Law School, as the Vice-Chancellor of the National Law School, and as a fellow educator, that we are always available to help you along with this journey, to both contribute and to learn from your experiences as we try and sustain and build the future of legal education in this state and in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Krishnaswamy. I would now like to welcome Ms. Neetu Dhadwal, our special VIP, to offer her insights into the law students today.
Thank you. Thanks, Professor Samdyota, for your kind words. So good evening, everyone. And I'll begin with heartiest congratulations to the founders and management of Dayananda Sagar University on this inauguration of the School of Law. I extend my greetings to Honorable Justice eminent Venkatachaliah, Dr. Sudhir, Dr. Premachandra Sagar, Dr. KNB Murthy, Dr. Padmamadappa, and other dignitaries in this forum. I'm truly honored to be in such an august company. The citizens of India have respect, trust, and faith in the Indian legal system because of the distinguished and renowned luminaries of the courts, such as Honorable Justice eminent Venkatachaliah, who now contribute towards supporting and promoting quality legal education in India. For more than 75 years, the Law School Admission Council has been creating a vibrant and supportive ecosystem for law schools and their candidates that promote quality, access, and equity in law school admission. The Dayananda Sagar Institution, founded in 1960s by visionary late Sri Dayananda Sagar, shares similar vision with their commitment to educate and transform today's students into responsible citizens and professional leaders of tomorrow. Professor N.R. Madhava Menon founded LSIU, Bangalore, and dedicated his entire life to uplift the standards of the legal education. Under the leadership of Dr. Sudhir, the institute continues to carry on that legacy by leading the transformation of law aspirants into legal scholars. Law is an essential part of our human civilization. In ancient India, it was dharma, or the rule of law, rules of dharma, basically, which governed the conduct of people in an effective manner. The modern day law finds its origins in Greece and Rome, and the legal profession has evolved over time to emerge in its current form. A noble profession, we always say doctors are having a noble profession, but in my heart, I believe truly that's a noble profession. Law is also a noble profession that truly stands for equality and justice in a world full of discrimination and unfairness. Law touches almost every facet of life, as alluded by Honorable Justice, that be it healthcare, technology, environment, finance, commerce, human rights, entertainment, international affairs, or modern day fields like artificial intelligence or cybersecurity. All of these are covered. If you're interested in pursuing law, there is an opportunity for you in that field of your interest, as indicated. LSAC realized the potential of this profession as early as 1940s and developed a standardized test to provide law schools in US with a reliable instrument to assess the skills needed to excel in law school. It has established itself as the leading assessment, data and technology hub for over 200 member law schools and thousands of students in United States, Canada, China, Australia, and also in India with its introduction of its exam in 2009 of LSAT India. LSAC invested time in understanding India, the world's largest democracy, an emerging major contributor to the global economy, before it established its entity in 2019 in India to exhibit its commitment to promoting legal education. At LSAC Global, we are dedicated to deploying the deep knowledge and experience that LSAC has acquired over 75 years to meet the needs of law aspirants and law colleges in India. LSAC Global strives to work with leaders in law and legal education to support India's continued development. DSU represents the select institutes who are laying the foundation to transform the entrepreneurial dream of every young Indian into a reality through their high caliber teaching staff and state-of-art infrastructure. Research, innovation, and incubation forms the core of DSU under the passionate and experienced leadership of Dr. Sagar, and LSAC Global is proud to welcome the institution as LSAC Global Law Alliance member. DSU, with the objective to enhance creativity, innovation, and scholarly pursuits, is now opening its law school. The School of Law at the university may be new, but the deep experience that its management, administrators, and teaching staff has acquired by running a multidisciplinary institution for many years will help them create future lawyers who will not only have the knowledge of legal field, but also receive an integrated education to make them industry ready. Law students studying at DSU will also have the opportunity to receive global perspectives through the monthly international webinars conducted by LSAC Global, covering diverse topics like global perspectives in law, impact of AI, impact of women, and careers beyond litigation from our alliance law colleges on a common platform with international deans and luminaries for discussions. LSAC Global has conducted law school forums every year since its inception in 2019. In the previous forum conducted last year in July 2021, over 18 US law schools and the member law schools in India participated to discuss possible collaborations across the two nations. With the focus of National Education Policy 2020 on providing world-class education for development and application of skills and competencies of students, the law schools associated with Law School Admission Council, both in US and India, discussed avenues for implementation of the policy. Many law schools since have built associations in India that will benefit their law students to receive dual degree programs and participate in immersion programs across continents. For aspiring law students who are going to study in DSU School of Law, this will present opportunities to be a global legal professional, a global professional having international exposure, but with local insights and focus on the issues and challenges of its own community. Students appearing for the LSAT India test who wish to take admission at the Dayananda Sagar University School of Law will also get the opportunity to win over 50 scholarships that LSAC Global offers to its top rankers, thus easing some of the financial burden of acquiring a professional degree. There's no typical legal career and there is no typical law student. All you need to get started is a thirst for knowledge and inquiry and the desire to make a difference. The skills that you will find useful and will help you succeed in your first year of your school will be your ability to read extensively, comprehend quickly, reason out all the perspectives of an issue, and written and oratory skills to present your side of argument. Do not lose heart if you're not equipped with these skills at present. The best thing is that you can acquire these skills if you work with a razor-sharp focus and with official test prep materials. DSU School of Law will encourage you to explore multiple fields and specialities, and you don't have to commit to a specific career right away. Once you complete your law school's core curriculum, you'll have the freedom to take a variety of courses and discover what career path is best for you. A legal education can take you from the courtroom to a corporate, from advocating for your community to joining a startup. All that matters is that you can make a difference. In conclusion, I will share that you may receive setbacks in life or in your career, but law schools like DSU School of Law will build the resilience in you to help you take on any challenge, be it life or your profession. A big thank you to all of you for giving me an opportunity to interact with you. And congratulations again, Dr. Sagar, in successfully leading the team at DSU in the opening of School of Law. We assure you of our support, continued support to provide the world-class education to your students. All the best to everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Neetu Dhadwal. Ms. Neetu is the Director of Business Operations at LSAC Global, and she's responsible for managing LSAC operations throughout India. She's also responsible for planning and delivering the LSAT India exam. So we're really grateful that you joined us today and offered your insights on the whole process. Thank you. I would now like to invite our registrar, Dr. Puttamadappa, to please offer the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Sam. Good evening to all. There is a saying, gratitude is the memory of the heart. At the outset, I respectfully offer my deep thanks and the gratitude to our beloved founders, Shri R. Dayananda Sagar and Srimati Dr. Chandrama Dayananda Sagar, as we have come together to launch the School of Law at Dayananda Sagar University. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to our chief guest for today's event, Honorable Justice M.N. Venkatachaliah, former Chief Justice of India, for kindly accepting our invitation and gracing this ceremony with his benevolent presence and inspiring us with so many valuable perspectives that he has provided for the foundation for our today's launch function of our School of Law at DSU. Sir, thank you. I would like to special thank for our guest of honor for today, Dr. Sudhir Krishnaswamy, Honorable Vice-Chancellor of National Law School of India, University, Bengaluru, for kindly accepting our invitation despite his hectic schedule to grace this function and with his presence and his valuable words on legal education for the new venture of DSU into the legal domain is going to benefit the growth and development of the School of Law, the DSU in the times ahead. Thank you, sir. My special thanks to our special invitee for the day, Ms. Neetu Dhadwal, the Director of Business Operations, LSAC Global, who had also kindly accepted our invitation and provided her valuable perspectives and the support for this function. I would like to express heartfelt thanks to our beloved Honorable Chancellor, Dr. D. Hemachandra Sagar, Honorable Pro-Chancellor, Dr. D. Premachandra Sagar, for their continuous motivation and inspiration in leading us to forge newer frontiers. So coming up with this, the new school or the School of Law under the DSU. I would also like to express my thanks to Professor Dr. K.N. Balasubramanya Murthy, our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Mr. Janardhan, Pro-Vice-Chancellor, the DSU, for their inspirational leadership in all the activities of DSU. And also, I would like to mention my sincere thanks for their presence in this event, the Assistant Solicitor General, Mr. Nargun, sir, and Dr. S.B.N. Prakash, the former principal and the session judge, and Mr. Prasanna for their presence in this event. Also, I would like to respectfully thank Shri Balasubramanya sir, Secretary MGPT Trust, for his consistent advice and support. Honorable members of our BOG, Board of Governors, Board of Management, Academic Council, and Board of Studies. And our special thanks to our evangelist, Professor Kincha sir, and our advisor, Dr. K. Ms. Jairat sir, and all the learned members of the legal fraternity, the invitees and special invitees, members of the press and media, the university officers, the deans, principals, chairpersons, faculty members of DSU, the staff members of DSU, and the students, and the prospective students also. Also, finally, I would like to thank our CMO, Mr. Shinde, Director Administration, for all the support, the staff, and all our well-wishers for their enthusiastic participation and good wishes at this event of launching the proposed School of Law. So thank you one and all, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And thank you again to everyone for joining us today. We hope to have your continued support as we move forward, and we're excited to see where this goes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you, Sudhir. Thank you, Neetu ji.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Appreciated your presence.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
inviting